Hello, my name is Reverend Johnny Healy, and I'm here to talk about NoiseFunge. NoiseFunge is an experimental music live coding environment based on the befunge family of languages. Its most distinct feature is the two-dimensional control flow of programs and the terse syntax where each opcode is represented by a single character. Here's a little program that loops and spawns a child thread, and the parent thread eventually dies off, and the child continues and spawns its own child, and just loops on forever like that. Here's another example of a program. This is a counter that just increments and outputs higher and higher numbers till it eventually loops around at 255. If we want to make it slightly more interesting, we can take advantage of a feature of NoiseFunge, which is that running threads have input and output buffers that they can use to communicate with each other. So I'll spawn this program, which is based on the counter, but instead of outputting the number, it writes it to a buffer. So when it gets to the period, it tries to write to the buffer, but there's no other thread reading the buffer, so it blocks. So we can start a new process that reads from the buffer and writes the number that it reads to the output. And that is a basic example of buffers in NoiseFunge. As I said before, NoiseFunge is a language for live coding music, so let's write a program that reads from the buffer and outputs a note using the number from the buffer as a MIDI pitch. And we can spawn a few more instances of this program running on different channels. As you might notice, they take turns reading from the buffer. Let's spawn a few more of the writing threads. Though as you may notice, a MIDI pitch of 1 is extremely low, and this particular synthesizer isn't great at handling it. So that is a simple example of how to make music with NoiseFunge. Let's look at a slightly more interesting example. Here's a program that plays drum sounds. It also uses a buffer and reads a number from that buffer and then quantizes to the next beat and then sleeps for some number of sub-beats based on the number it reads. And so this can be used to create different rhythms. If we write a bunch of zeros to the buffer, we'll get a nice steady rhythm out of our drum. But if we start writing some other numbers, then we'll start getting different rhythms out of our drums. And let's get some more drums in here to read from the buffer. Another feature I've added that can be useful for writing music is an opcode that spawns a child thread. As you can see, this program is spawning child threads, which are actually outputting the notes. And we can start a few more of these threads, but give them different octaves and notes. And that is NoiseFunge.